Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks. Your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, I am a huge Joe Flacco fan. Wise Usher once said, "Situations will arise in our lives." I'm talking about shut down. Like you not throwing on Jimmy Smith. Joe is criminally underrated. Like lock him up in cuffs, criminally underrated. Lamar's put this team as a top 5 offense for the first time in 20 years. Got the arm talent. Jay Cutler had it too. I don't care about this argument against total TDs and all this. Oh, you want to talk about defense? Oh, until next time. All right, what is going on, good people? Welcome in to Flock Nation Speaks from the booth with the headset on. I'm your host, DJ. I don't know. We're going to try it anyway. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, covers the best team in NFL history, if you're a Ravens fan, of course. Look, I tried a new catchphrase. It didn't work. I might try it again next time, and the time after that, and the time after that, and you know, they always say the more, if you tell somebody something over and over again, they start to believe it. All right, we'll see. Anyway, what's going on? How y'all doing? Hope y'all doing good. Hope y'all having a good week so far. I've been on vacation. It was fun. It was relaxing. It was kind of busy, went to an amusement park. I think I rode every ride that I wanted to ride for the past 5 years. It was wonderful, but I hope y'all doing well as well. Today on this show right here, we're gonna talk OTAs, and also probably touch on a little bit of J.K. Dobbins' future with the Ravens, because heard a lot of people talk about J.K. and kind of the uncertainty around his future, because of course you had injuries last year, you had injuries the year before, you going into his third year, if I'm not mistaken. And for a running back especially, the clock seems to turn a little bit faster than it does for everybody else. But then on top of that, OTAs continue. Week 2 of OTAs continues. Voluntary OTAs. Lamar Jackson is back on the field. He was back last week too, but this is the first time I've been able to actually sit down and talk about it. I'm going to take you through a couple of takeaways that Clifton Brown, who of course works for Ravens, he was there. Go through a couple of his takeaways and see what I think based off of his takeaways from OTAs today, since they didn't give me the invite. Next week maybe, right? Next week I might be there, but this week they didn't give me the invite. But very, very interesting to see, because within this report, the cover photo, oddly enough, is Devin Duvernay, who also seems to be a guy who has kind of a future in question with the Ravens, right? With the potential of a DeAndre Hopkins potentially coming to the Ravens, basically for a little bit of a double-edged sword on that when you're trying to make the team better, but you're trying to make sure that everybody else don't get better, specifically the Chiefs and the Bills, the two teams that you're going to compete with probably the most out of anybody, with the exception of the Bengals, of course, too. So Devin Duvernay is one of the he's the cover photo on this from the takeaways article that Brian had wrote, and it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see because I think he had a pretty good day today. Now, the interesting part about it, Duvernay, he did some work with the Judge Machine. Of course, we know Duvernay has pretty good hands. From what we've always seen, he's pretty sure-handed. I think it took him a long time before he even had a drop last year. We saw that, this the way the offense looks. Of course, Zay Flowers out there too, but the way the offense looks, because OBJ is not in practice yet. Rashad Bateman is not, participating in the workout per se. He's working. He's at the facility, but he's not necessarily, running the offense with the guys, right? They're still learning this new offense on top of that too. And from what I see, it seems like it was a little bit of a struggle in OTAs. Marcus Williams, had a good practice. He came out and, I mean, picked off Lamar Jackson at least once, I think. And, he's a ball hawk anyway. That's kind of what he does. But it's just very interesting, seeing, Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton kind of side by side. It seemed like that, interesting part of that, right? Because that's kind of what we want to see. And that's why I like looking into stuff like this, because you can kind of see, like, how do the Ravens want to play this defense, right? We, a couple weeks ago, I kind of brought up the fact that what are the Ravens, gonna do with all these kind of pieces that they have that don't really have true roles, right? They don't really have true positions that they excel at per se. Like, for example, Kyle Hamilton is a guy who excels more in the box than he does, at least from what we saw last year, in the box covering tight ends, as opposed to, being a rangy ball hawky type safety. So the question becomes, what are they going to do? How are they going to play Kyle Hamilton and then not having Chuck Clark too to back him up? What does that mean, right? What does that mean for a guy like Kyle Hamilton? How does he fit into this defense, even more so going into year 2? And then of course, so also Jordan Swain, who's an undrafted rookie cornerback, he got an interception too. We talked about this before. Like, there's no worries about the defense. There's no worries about how this defense is going to play. I think, honestly, I think one of the big takeaways I'm seeing from the Ravens defense is it feels like it's kind of getting back to the defense of old. Maybe not the Ray Lewis days of the defense, or like the prime Ravens defense, but it's getting back to that kind of unpredictability style of defense. That defense where you don't really know what's coming at you. That defense where you don't really got a blitz to get pressure. Which is interesting. It's nice to see the Ravens get back to not having to just send all out pressure and still not get to the quarterback. But it seems like the DBs especially are finding a way to pick balls off. They're finding a way to take the ball away, which I think not last year, but the year before was of course missing. That's why they brought in Marcus Williams. And then we saw, like, Marcus Williams went out and there was still turnovers, but it didn't feel like it was as many. And then as Marcus Williams came back, that's when the turnovers ramped up. Of course, the addition of Roquan Smith and all that too, all of that helps. But, in the 11 on 11s, Devin Duvernay, kind of like I was saying earlier, the offense kind of looked kind of shaky. The offense looked kind of shaky per the report. And also, Devin Duvernay was kind of the guy who was Devin Duvernay was kind of the main target. He was the favorite target of Lamar Jackson. And it's interesting. And to see, I think Duvernay stays on the team, number one, because he's a special teams ace, and that's what John Harbaugh does. But at the same time, I think because Todd Monken can probably get the best out of Devin Duvernay in letting Duvernay kind of move around and letting Duvernay kind of, maybe actually take the jet sweep for once, right? Maybe run a couple of screens, maybe run some slants and utilize Devin Duvernay's speed. Get downfield. We've seen him make contested catches before. He just got to be put in the right position to make the plays. But interestingly enough, it kind of, it rivals a little bit of the offense that we saw last year in terms of personnel, with Devin Duvernay kind of being the lead guy after Bateman had got hurt. And then, of course, you got Zay Flowers out there, right? And then, you kind of just wonder, like, what happens? You kind of wonder what happens. Of course, JK, because that's kind of the thing about it too, with all the injuries and everything, and still trying to figure out a lot. I think from the Ravens are still trying to heal up and get healthy from last year, because of course Duvernay, he battled a foot injury to end last year. You had Bateman, of course, who kind of, like I said before, he wasn't running the not one-on-ones, the 11 on 11s, but at the same time he was on the drugs machine. He was still working out, still trying to keep himself ready to go for when the time comes that he's 100% and ready to get back out there on the field. They say Mark Andrews looks really good. Mark Andrews, this says, and I quote, according to Brown, appears to have 0% body fat, which, is impossible. But at the same time, very, very interesting, like, to see that Mark Andrews has probably leaned down, I would say, a little bit. Let me see if I can pull up this picture, because I saw a picture of Mark Andrews, but they say, they say he looks leaner. I'll pull it up for y'all real quick. But they say that Mark Andrews is looking a little leaner, so that's a little interesting. It's a little interesting to see Mark Andrews. How is that going to affect his game, right? Because Mark Andrews is probably a guy who can make every catch in the book if you think about it, right? You'll see him right here with Isaiah Likely. The pair that's probably that we hope is going to go off this season. It'll be interesting to see what a guy like Likely does this year too, man, because I think we saw glimpses, we saw flashes last year, but we don't really know. Of course, I got the highlight on there, but you see Devin Duvernay doing this thing, Lamar Jackson out there on the practice field as well. They make this real difficult to go through these pictures. They really do. You say J Tug. Oh, now I want to work perfectly. Okay. Zay is out there, of course. And there go Bateman too, who I think, like I said, I think Bateman. It's funny because a lot of people I think are writing Bateman off, and I think they shouldn't. Bateman is a guy who I think is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, and I really hope he can stay healthy. I think a healthy Rashad Bateman, number one, it's twofold. Number one, a healthy Rashad Bateman is everything that this Ravens offense needs. He gives you an extra wrinkle that you don't have. He does have a pretty unique skill set, I'd say. But then on top of that, a healthy Rashad Bateman opens up opportunities for everybody else. We saw how good Devin Duvernay was when Rashad Bateman was in the game, right? You don't want to put too much pressure on a rookie Zay Flowers, and you don't want to put too much pressure on 30-plus Odell Beckham. So, that's the thing, right? That's the thing about it. And, it'll be interesting to see how they go about, implementing all of these receivers that they have picked up. And of course, like we said before, the potential of picking up DeAndre Hopkins too. What does that mean, right? But it is, it's very interesting. The offense struggled a little bit, but the offense still running a different offensive system. They're still learning, so we'll see, how that goes, how quickly they pick it up. And I mean, right now is not the time for the offense to be excelling, I don't think either. Especially if it's something new, it's different. There's new signals, there's new calls, there's new motions and everything. But very interesting to see. And but it also, the other thing, that kind of makes my mind wonder a little bit is Marlon Humphrey didn't practice, or at least today, right? At least if it's Thursday, at least on Thursday. Pepe wasn't there. Caillou Blue Kelly wasn't there. So that left Kevon Seymour and Trayvon Mullen, and of course Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton on the back end. It left them to kind of fend for themselves a little bit. So it's interesting that the defense. And that's kind of like going back full circle. It's interesting that the defense is playing that well without those guys, and that's probably a good thing too. Obviously, a knee-jerk reaction, no pass, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just OTAs, but it's something that we haven't seen in a while. Is a defense to be able to continue to be good while guys are down. So I mean, it's nice to see even just the corner depth a little bit too. Corner depth, a little bit more corner depth. Like that's something that we've been looking for a while. It'll be interesting to see kind of like what they do with Kyle Fuller and everything too. But I mean, my takeaways from the takeaways of OTAs. I mean, it's way too early to put too much pressure on the offense. They're still learning. And then defensively, it's nice to see, right? It's nice to see, and I think we want to, the defense to me, in my opinion, the defense gonna always have the pressure on them. The defense gonna always have the pressure on them because they're a talented group, and they should be really good. They were really good last year, and they should be really good this year. Now, once we get closer and closer to the season, especially in the preseason, I'm gonna expect greatness from week 1, but especially once we get like week 2, week 3, week 4, especially like really, really, really week 4, then I'm gonna be like, the offense gonna have to step up, and I think they will, right? I think as people get healthy, I think as chemistry starts to develop, I think this offense got a lot of potential. Now back to the J.K. Dobbins thing. Back to the J.K. Dobbins. What is J.K. Dobbins' future, right? What is J.K. Dobbins' future with this team? What is J.K. Dobbins' future with this team, considering Dalvin Cook is a guy who may not be in Minnesota for very long, not very often, very long. I think they replaced him on the little. It's like they want to move on from him because they put the backup running back. I can't remember his name. Madison, I think his name is. They put him on like their like banner that they have like outside the stadium or whatever. So, I take a guy like Dalvin Cook, right? I take a guy like Dalvin Cook, but I don't think we should give up on JK either. I don't think we should give up on JK either. I really don't. I think JK. I think JK at 100% could be a really, really great running back. A really great running back. I want to see him this year, right? I want to see what he does this year. After the knee injury, after a year to get right, and probably not as much pressure on him because Gus will be back to 100% too. Like, it'll be interesting to see what, I think in terms of J.K. Dobbins' future, I don't think they should just go ahead and just be like, we're gonna move on from JK. I just don't think. I think, I know JK is uncertain. I know JK is, he's probably like, I don't know what's gonna happen. This is his kind of almost like a prove it year to a certain degree. And I think, he said it in a tweet too. He wants to be here for the rest of his career. He wants to be in Baltimore for the rest of his career, I should say. And it'll be interesting to see what exactly he does because I think he could break out this year and maybe even play his way out of Baltimore to a certain degree. But I think at the same time, he could break out and possibly get an extension. But, we got to also remember too, we got money tied up in other places. So, are they going to really, are they going to pay? That's the thing about running back, right? Do you really pay max money to running backs? Unless they kind of do it all type back, and you're gonna pay that for Christian McCaffrey because he's gonna give you carries and he's gonna catch the football. He might even pass a touchdown there. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna give that money to a guy like Christian McCaffrey, but would you give that to a more traditional back like J.K. Dobbins? Who knows, right? It's a question for y'all. Like, what do you think? What is J.K. Dobbins' future with the Ravens? No, and it's twofold, right? What is J.K. Dobbins' future with the Ravens? What do you want J.K. Dobbins' future to be? I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be a Raven, unless he just breaks out. Like, if he breaks out, then I think his time may end just because they don't want to pay him that much money. But I think at the same time, I can see J.K. Being a Raven, depending on what kind of deal he wants to. So it'll be interesting, right? And also, I think it depends on the success of the team. If this team goes out and wins the Super Bowl, especially, I think more players are going to want to take less money to be here anyway, right? Because there's so much potential with this team, right? The Lamar Jackson signing wasn't dynasty making potential because it was clickbait. The Lamar Jackson signing was dynasty making potential because it was just that, dynasty making potential, right? That's what it was. So, and I still firmly believe that, right? Like, you create a dynasty off the back of your quarterback. You just do. You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing about it too. You create a dynasty based on the back of your quarterback, and we'll see how that goes. But last question of the day, real quick. The NBA Finals are on as we speak. And what y'all think? Can the Miami Heat, can they do the unthinkable, right? Can the Miami Heat do the unthinkable? Can they come out here and take down the number 1 seed in the West? That would be the number 8 seed in the East, taking out the number 1 seed in the West. Can the Miami Heat do what I would say is kind of the unthinkable? For me, I'm asking y'all. I'm just giving my opinion, to fill the time. No, but for me, I picked on Twitter with Nitro. I picked with Coach Evans, Hendo, they were all kind of in the same thread. And I was like, Heat in 6, I was like Heat in 6. And I mean, I, considering the last time I turned the game on, which, like I said, it's happening as we speak. And I just want to see who's leading. I ain't even gonna give it away. I ain't even gonna necessarily give the score away per se. But it's very interesting because with Denver leading game 1, Heat in 6 is hard to come by if the Heat don't win game 1. Right? So, and I could be like Heat in 7. But I mean, I don't know. It's something about this underdog story of the Heat that I really like. I personally thought, this was just me, and I know Denver's kind of deep. They got shooters. Jamal Murray is a dog. We know about Jokic. We just, we know, right? We know. But, as much as I hate to say this, being a Sixers fan, Boston, I thought was probably the most talented team in the playoffs. They're young and talented. But I think at the same time, I think Denver is still pretty young, right? Like they're veteran enough, they're a veteran led team enough to make some noise. But I think Denver is very much so. They're still young, but they're at the right age. They prime, right? They prime. They in their prime. And I mean, if they win it this year, I wouldn't even be surprised. But I kind of want to see the little underdog story of the Heat, right? The team that barely made the playoffs to begin with. They lost the first play-in game, won the second play-in game, and then it felt like they kind of went through the gauntlet a little bit. But especially with Boston, right, to go through the highest of the 3-0 start, potential sweep of Boston. And then for that to go to 7 games, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. But can the Heat? So back to the original question: can the Heat do the unthinkable? I think they can. I just think it's going to be really hard. I think it's going to be really hard. I think they're going to really have to take Denver to the limit. And I think Hendo was the one that brought this up. I don't really know if the Heat got anybody that can guard Jokic. I mean, Jokic is might as well be unguardable anyway, but I don't think they have anybody that can guard the Joker. So that's an issue too. All right, that's an issue when it comes down to it. Like what happens? What happens with Jokic, and then when you finally do, you slow him down. He can make the right play. So can the Heat do the unthinkable? I don't know. Heat in 7. Can I say that? Heat in 7? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, you can always watch or listen to Flock Nation Speaks on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And also, if you want to watch, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere you want to watch or listen, Fly Nation Speaks is probably there. I definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. What do you think? What do you think of the takeaways from OTAs? What are you most excited about? I guess that's the biggest question. Because the OTAs and the takeaways and all that, I mean, you take it with a grain of salt to a certain degree. But what are you most excited about? The new look offense? Are you most excited about, how this defense can kind of continue to take shape, and they might can set up some opportunities for the offense? You excited for the special teams? Y'all might be John Harbaugh people. Are you excited for But as always, definitely hope you guys enjoyed. What's J.K. Dobbins' future as well? We'll see you guys on the next episode of Flock Nation Speaks. Thank you for tuning in. Until